Great to have Ricky Capo back on the grid, taking a break from his duties in Australian GT, driving a BMW to jump back into some wings and slicks racing. And there he is, the number 92, Modena Engineering Dallara. Great to have the young Victorian back on the grid in the Australian Formula 3 Premier Series. It adds some spice to a field which is looking for a championship battle. A big weekend needed from Chris Anthony to put the pressure on this bloke, the double champ Tim Macro, who's been so very good in this Alpine Motorsport F307 Dallara. He leads the standings over Anthony with Roland Legg in third and Trent Shervington in fourth in the McGale. The national class points have Cameron Shields on top in that McDonald's Gilmore Racing entry with Nathan Kumar in second place. Kumo Cup with Ross McAlpine and Shane Wilson this weekend as well. Chad Nailon, open wheelers, wings and slicks at Sydney Motorsport Park on a crisp Sunday morning.
Oh, what a beautiful thing it is, Kralsey. We love seeing these cars out on the way.
Roland.
On the warm-up lap.
He spun the Artec Motorsport Dallara, trying to get heat into the rear tyres.
Oh, you're just saying how cold it is, and that's what can happen.
Oh, and he stalled it too, so gets the car fired up. This is going to be critical for his race. Finished third in race one. Desperately needed a good run in this one. And there's a look, so accelerate brake, had a little bit of lock on the car and just smoked the rear tyres and spun the car around.
No, he was due for a front row start. You'll hear it cut the motor out just when he tries to get it going. He drove from last to third as well in that first race after gearbox issues in qualifying, so that is a real heartbreaker. It'll leave a vacant spot alongside Ricky Capo. Reverse top four for this one, so it puts the fast guys...
Oh, no.
Oh, there's more going on here. Shields.
Yeah, young Queenslander, another one of the Toowoomba Brigade, running down into pit lane, teenager from McDonald's Gilmore Racing. So a bit of a free kick for Tim Macro, the championship leader on the second row of the grid. It's a good start for Chris Anthony as well. And the second of the Macca's cars goes down the inside of Ricky Capo. Couldn't quite squeeze through though by the looks of it. And Capo on the outside on cold Kumo tyres holds on. Good start. The man that fought John Collins for the championship last year. Look at Anthony sailing around the outside at turn two. Almost locking wheels, and with great commitment he holds on and grabs the lead.
What a battle for the lead. And Capo, unfortunately for his sake here, has relinquished it. He needed to hang on there because Anthony has been pressing with speed. So far this weekend, Tim Macro has been the man to beat after converting that pole position, a lap record pole position I might add, to a race one win. And this is the man we're talking about. To the inside at 6. That is confidence on cold tyres. And the Kumos hang on to push him through to second, so Capo drops back to third. And it's a very important move, that one, for Macro, because he can see there's already a good second and a half lead that he needs to bring back.
Knocked up his 100th race start yesterday, Tim Macro, so he knows how to drive these cars on cold tyres, and just so good. Here's Roland Legg, spun on the formation lap, relegated to the back of the field because of it. He's made up some good ground, and he's now up behind Trent Shervington in that Quicksilver McGale, run by Team BRM, the multiple champions in this category and defending champions in F4. There's Legg from Mackay in North Queensland. He's got some work to do, but that's the margin first to second. This is a crucial race, Chad, for Chris Anthony. Desperately needs to break this winning streak from Tim Macro as Legg pulls out of the toe and runs down the inside of Shervo at turn one and grabs the book in a pretty straightforward move.
Shervington hanging tough around the outside and then gets the run back down at turn two and loses the rear. Just got pinched a little bit, sends him the wrong way round. And his Team BRM entry facing the wrong way at turn two. What a shame.
So yellow flags for the rest of the field to know that there's a spun car parked on the apron. Here's the start. Really good launch from Anthony. The first phase of the start was great. He just wasn't quite alongside Capo enough into turn one, and the Johnny King Dallara held on around the outside. And Anthony, in fact, used a little bit of curb through there to take evasive action. But solid start, though. And then just sailed around the outside. This was awesome.
You've got to say, Capo did absolutely everything he could to hold on to that lead, and they were actually banging wheels. Proper open wheel racing through turn two. He just wrestles that away. Watch the right front here on Capo's car. This is as close as you can get.
Oh,
Just banging rims in the mid part of that corner. Awesome to watch.
lucky not to lock wheels on corner exit there. Things get messy when that happens. So Macro now closing in on the Macca's car that leads the race. Here he goes. He's got a good toe. The 07 car a bit slippery on a straight line and sends it down the outside. You know, you can go side by side through there. He tried to switch back as well, but Chris Anthony just slowed up mid-corner, defended his line. Really good bit of defensive driving by the man who's second in the championship this year.
He knows that he needs to fend off every attack that the two-time champ throws at him. He knows that he may even be that little bit slower this weekend, considering Macro laid down the first ever sub 122 here in qualifying with a blistering lap.
We thought this circuit would suit the slightly later model car that Anthony's running more than Macro's 07 Dallara, but that thing is absolutely hooked up and he's driving as well as he ever has in his lengthy career in Australian Formula 3. So he continues to apply the pressure. It's important Macro be quicker in a straight line, so he needs to get a good run out of this final complex and try and get himself up underneath the rear wing of the McDonald's Gilmore Racing Dallara. But this has been a very, very solid drive from Chris Anthony. Back in the category this year, did half a season in Europe in season 2015. Came back this year to get some more experience at Wings and Slicks cars before having another crack at it. Good, tense fight between the two of them. Macro so good, over one lap in qualifying and his cold tyre pace exemplary. But when they're up and racing, and if Anthony can get in front of him, he's generally very good. And it's nice to see him making good starts as well, Chad, because at Winton he had the fastest car, set the outright lap record there as well. Unfortunately, his starts cost him, and at a place where it's almost impossible to pass in one of these cars, it was very, very difficult for him to do anything about Macro there.
You give Tim Macro any sort of advantage at the start like that, he will make you pay. But now it's the other way around in this reverse grid race. Anthony making the most of the start this time. Macro hunting him down. You mentioned earlier, 100 starts now in this category. And amazing to think that he's won 40 of those. It's a ridiculous conversion rate. As this is the battle a bit further back now for third.
Yeah, solid drive from Roland Legg after fending off, and unfortunately Trent Shervington had that spin while they were battling for position. He's now caught up to Ricky Capo. So this is the fight for third place. Capo hasn't driven this car since the finale in Goulburn last year. So came into it cold and just sort of worked his way into it in Friday practice in qualifying. Wasn't too worried about his one lap pace. Was more about making sure the car was going to be good over a race distance. And Roland off the road, drops it off over the exit curb, runs it wide and belts the wall.
Oh, and he puts his hands to his face. He knows that he was on an absolute charge and on for third position again. Look at the steam pouring off these tyres. It picked up a lot of moisture and there was no chance that he was going to arrest his car. Once he got onto the grass, a lot of winter dew still out there this morning. So what's the moment, just took the exit curb, Crowley.
Yeah, and the car bottoms out, Chad, so from there he was a passenger.
Oh.
Reasonable impact with the wall, but the rear wing looked like it took a lot of that impact, and that's a replaceable part, so that might not be a bad thing, and might be able to get that car fixed. That doesn't look great for Nathan Kumar, though. Big smoke, and that's engine smoke coming from the Spice Opal engine in his Dallara, and it sounds unhealthy, and he is out of the way. There's no Super Mario for him in this race.
It's an awkward spot, actually, where he's had to pull that car up. You don't really get much of a choice sometimes when it's an engine failure as to where you stop. So we'll see if race control deemed that a dangerous position. Meanwhile, this battle at the front continues. There'll be local yellows at least in a couple of places on the track, so that'll limit the overtaking opportunities that Macro gets. That's assuming he gets close enough to make a move at the moment, because Anthony is driving the wheels off the Macca's Gilmore car, and there'll be just one more lap to go.
Tim's a smart guy. He's not going to risk throwing this car up the inside and risk damage both to his car and to Chris Anthony's car just for the sake of winning another race when the points swing. Given he won race one and got the fastest lap and got pole position, he's only going to be 1 point back to Chris Anthony. So he doesn't actually lose a lot of margin by finishing second in this race. But from a moral point of view and perhaps a hopes point of view, enthusiasm for Anthony, a win is going to be great in what's been a difficult championship campaign so far. Local wave yellows for Kumar stranded Artec Dallara on the exit of turn 6. Anthony still pressing on, just grabbing the inside front brake, but this has been a very good drive and on course for his second win of the season and what will be a massive confidence boost for him.
Every time you can pull one over a guy like Tim Macro, it will serve you well. But can he back it up in what will be a difficult third race as well? Last few corners now for Anthony. He's driven perfectly in this race. Had to wrestle the lead in spectacular fashion away from Ricky Capo on the opening lap. And then never set a foot wrong since then. Bit of a Sebastian Bourdais look about this car. I absolutely love it on track, and he will cruise home to victory in race 2 for Gilmore Racing. He punches the air, and well mighty, because he absolutely earned that one.
Big morale boost for the young man from Cooma in regional New South Wales. And McDonald's Gilmore Racing. Macro, the championship leader, second. Ricky Capo, third. And Trent Shervington, despite his dramas early, rebounded to P4.
Yeah, it's been a long time since Sandown, chasing Tim all the time, and it's finally good to get a victory. We pushed really hard. Tim was very quick at the start of the race, so I had to manage my tyres and manage the gap, and he was right all over me. So a lot of defensive work, and the hard work and the fitness paid off with fitness to podium, getting me ready. So I lasted the race and eventually got the win. So.
Confidence boosting victory for Chris Anthony. Race 3 highlights now, and it would all come down to the start. Anthony's start was good. Tim Macro slightly better. In Chad, he was just able to lead into turn 1.
Yeah, and we saw in race 2 that it was a pretty high-flying move at turn 2 that got the lead back for Anthony. A guy like Tim Macro is never going to fall for a similar move, though, so that pretty much set up how the 15-lap feature would finish at the front of the field, but the story a bit further back was an interesting one.
So Trent Shervington and Roland Legg dicing. They diced in race number 2. Shervington spun from the inside. This time, unfortunately, the Quicksilver Miguel spun from the outside of the road, and he would drop plenty of positions. Ricky Capo closed in on Cameron Shields, who was doing a very nice job after a drive shaft failure in race 2. He pulled out of the way, and Capo was going nicely until this happened. Engine Dramas slowed his charge, and he pulled out of the race. A drama for the 92 driver.
Yeah, not the way that he wanted to finish off his return to Formula 3 racing. No one was going to catch Tim Macro in a league of his own this weekend, finishing strong out front. What a drive from Shields to close in on his teammate, but congratulations to Tim Macro.
Yeah, it's all about getting it off the line. It's a high aero track, and when you get behind another car, it's very difficult to pass. So, just got in the lead and, went away with it.
Experiencing paying off for Tim Macro as he extends his lead in the championship now. It's pretty much over the halfway mark from Chris Anthony with 3 rounds remaining in the Australian Formula 3 Championship. Ricky Capo, great to have him back here this weekend. Cameron Shields extending his lead also in the national class. Nathan Kumar really didn't need that DNF in the second race.